Joy! Today, something completely different.
Oh, really? What are we talking about?
Korea. North Korea and South Korea. Two countries, same peninsula, same language, but today, completely different worlds. And one of our listeners actually asked us this question. Why is Korea divided? How did this happen?
Great question. And the answer is complicated. But we'll make it simple. Welcome to New English Podcast. Today, a history lesson.
And as always, while we talk, we'll explain some useful words along the way. Let's start from the beginning. Okay, so, for centuries, Korea was one country, one people, one language, one culture.
Peninsula, friends. A peninsula is a piece of land surrounded by water on three sides. Korea is a peninsula, like Italy, actually.
Like Italy, exactly. And for a long time, Korea was ruled by its own kings and emperors.
But then, in 1910, something happened. Japan took control.
Japan annexed Korea. Annexed, when a country takes control of another country by force and makes it part of its own territory.
And this lasted 35 years. 35 years of Japanese rule. Korean language was suppressed. Korean culture was suppressed. It was a very difficult time for Korean people.
And then, 1945. World War II ends. Japan loses the war.
And Korea is finally free, right?
Well, not exactly. Here's where it gets complicated. When Japan surrendered in 1945, two big powers moved in. The United States from the south and the Soviet Union from the north. And they needed a line, a border, to divide their zones. So two American officers looked at a map and drew a line.
Just like that?
Just like that. The 38th parallel. A line of latitude. Friends, latitude is an imaginary horizontal line that goes around the Earth. The 38th parallel divided Korea roughly in half.
And the Koreans, were they asked?
No, they were not asked. Nobody consulted the Korean people. Two officers drew a line on a map in about 30 minutes, and that line changed everything.
So, north of the line, the Soviet Union. South of the line, the United States. And these two superpowers, they had very different ideas about how to run a country.
The Soviet Union believed in communism. The United States believed in capitalism and democracy.
Communism, a political system where the government controls everything. No private property. Everyone shares equally, in theory, of course. And capitalism, a system where people and businesses own property and compete freely in a market. Two very different systems. And now, Korea was split right down the middle between them.
By 1948, two separate governments were formed. In the south, the Republic of Korea. Capital, Seoul. Leader, Syngman Rhee, backed by the United States. In the north, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Capital, Pyongyang. Leader, Kim Il-sung, backed by the Soviet Union. Kim Il-sung, friends, remember this name, because today, his grandson, Kim Jong-un, is still in power in North Korea. Same family, 3 generations, still ruling.
Now, both governments said the same thing. We are the real Korea. We represent all Korean people. So naturally, tensions were very high.
Tension, a feeling of stress and conflict between people or countries, like a rubber band pulled tighter and tighter.
And then, June 25th, 1950, the rubber band snapped. North Korea invaded South Korea.
Invaded. When a country enters another country by force with its army. 75,000 North Korean soldiers crossed the border. They moved fast. They took Seoul, the capital of South Korea, in just 3 days.
Wow, 3 days.
It looked like North Korea was going to win quickly. But then, the United Nations got involved.
The United Nations sent troops to help South Korea, mostly American, led by General Douglas MacArthur.
And the war went back and forth. North advances, South pushes back. UN forces cross into North Korea.
And then China enters the war, on the side of North Korea. Suddenly, millions of Chinese soldiers crossed the border and pushed everyone back south again.
This war was called, by many Americans, the Forgotten War, because it came just after World War II. People were tired of war. The world was not paying attention.
But it was not forgotten by Korean people. At least 2.5 million people died. Civilians, ordinary people, families.
Civilian. Someone who is not a soldier. An ordinary person living their life. Millions of civilians died in the Korean War.
And then, July 27th, 1953, an armistice was signed. Armistice, an agreement to stop fighting. Not a peace treaty, just a ceasefire. The fighting stops, but technically, the war never ended.
Technically, no, it never ended. North and South Korea are still, technically, at war today. There was never a final peace treaty.
And the border, the DMZ, the demilitarized zone, a strip of land about 4 kilometers wide running across the peninsula, one of the most heavily guarded borders in the world. Guarded, when soldiers or security watch over something to protect it or control it. And since 1953, the two Koreas have gone in completely different directions. South Korea, today one of the most successful economies in the world. Samsung, Hyundai, K-pop, Korean cinema, BTS.
North Korea, isolated from the world. Very little information goes in or out. One of the poorest countries on Earth, and a nuclear power. Nuclear, relating to the energy released from the nucleus of an atom. Nuclear weapons are the most destructive weapons ever created. Two countries, same language, same people, separated by a line drawn in 30 minutes in 1945.
And they are still separated today.
Joy, do you think they will ever reunite?
Reunite, to come together again after being separated. Honestly, nobody knows. Many Korean families were separated by the war. Parents, children, brothers and sisters. Some have never seen each other again. It's one of the saddest parts of this story. Real families, real people, separated by a political line.
And that's why this question, why is Korea divided, is not just a history question. It's a human question.
Okay, friends, let's do a quick recap of the words we learnt today. Peninsula, land surrounded by water on 3 sides.
Annexed, when a country takes control of another by force.
Latitude, an imaginary horizontal line around the Earth.
Superpower, a country with enormous global power.
Invaded, entered another country by force with an army.
Civilian, an ordinary person, not a soldier.
Armistice, an agreement to stop fighting.
Economy, the system of money and trade in a country.
Reunite, to come together again after separation.
9 words. One very complicated history.
Tell us in the comments, did you know this story? And where are you listening from today?
We'd love to know. Leave us a like, subscribe to the channel, and see you next time.
Stay safe. Kisses.